Have you ever stopped to think about how real wisdom, that deep faith, can actually travel across physical distance? How it can, really change lives?
It's a fascinating idea, isn't it? That someone's presence, their virtue, isn't just about being there physically.
Exactly. It's something more subtle, maybe more energetic. And that's what we're exploring today. Welcome to the deep dive. We're digging into some ancient Buddhist texts, specifically parts of the radiant purity of the virtuous.
Yeah, our goal here is to pull out some key insights about the Dhammapada, which is a core text, and also look at the role of, really inspiring lay followers and this whole idea of a spiritual cure in Buddhism.
We think we'll uncover some quite surprising connections, linking this ancient wisdom to things that still feel very relevant now.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's start with the Dhammapada. For anyone maybe less familiar, it's a really central collection of verses in Buddhism. Hugely influential.
Absolutely foundational. It's seen as this shining path of wisdom, basically the essence of the Dharma, the Buddha's teachings, distilled into these powerful verses. And it's organized quite neatly, actually, into 26 chapters, or vagas.
And we're zooming in on one specific verse today, verse 304. It's from the Bhagavad.
Right. Chapter 21, the miscellaneous verses, it often collects some really profound, maybe seemingly unrelated points together. The verse itself goes, Dure santo pakasenti, himavantova papato, asanteta nadisanti, ratinte yatosasara.
It sounds beautiful. So what's it telling us? Let's break it down, starting with Santa, the virtuous ones.
Exactly. Santoti refers to these virtuous beings. We're talking about Buddhas, of course, but also others who've built up, significant wholesome qualities, really developed their meditation.
And how are they seen, Pakasantiti?
Yeah, it means they become apparent. They shine forth, even from a huge distance. But it's not about normal sight. It's more like they become visible on the Buddha's knowledge path. It suggests this kind of spiritual resonance that goes beyond just physical space.
And the analogy used here is just stunning. Himavantova papato, like the Himalayas.
Right, and get this, the text describes the Himalayas as enormous 3,000 yojanas wide, 500 high, 84,000 peaks.
A yojana is what, 8-10 miles? So that's huge. Thousands of miles wide.
Immense. But the point is, despite that massive scale, despite the distance, they are seen clearly, as if they're right there. And that's how the virtuous appear. Their presence radiates.
Wow. Okay, so that sets up the contrast, right?
Yeah.
What about the others, the asanta, the ignoble?
Oh, yes, asanta. These are the ones, the text says, who are just caught up in, the pleasures of right now, not thinking about the future, consumed by desires, or maybe they've even, left home life, but only for basic livelihood, not for genuine spiritual reasons.
And the difference in visibility is stark.
Utterly stark. Nadisanti. They are not seen. Even if they're sitting right there next to a Buddha, they're essentially invisible on that deeper level. Why? Because they lack the pubehetu, the conducive past actions, the inner groundwork.
No resonance.
Exactly. And the analogy for them is just as powerful, maybe even more chilling. Ratikitayatasara, like arrows shot into total darkness.
They just disappear.
Vanish, no trace, no impact. It really drives home that spiritual presence isn't about the physical form, it's about what you've cultivated inside. Inner light, or the lack of it.
That verse really sets a powerful stage. Okay, so let's shift from that core wisdom to a story that really brings these ideas to life. An incredible account, actually.
Yes, the story of Culasubhaddha. She was the daughter of Anathapindika, who listeners might know was a hugely important lay supporter of the Buddha.
Right, a key figure. And her story starts with a bit of an arrangement, doesn't it? A childhood pact.
It does. Her father, Anathapindika, and his friend Uga, another very wealthy man, but from Uganagra, quite far away, had agreed long ago that if one had a son and the other a daughter, they'd arrange a marriage.
So, years later, Uga visits Anathapindika in Savatthi.
And this is where Culasubhaddha first really makes an impression. The text details how she personally took care of Uga's every need, food, bathing, everything. Her conduct was just impeccable.
She clearly made a huge impression.
So much so that Uga, even though the text notes he was michadahiko, meaning he held wrong views, he asked for her hand in marriage for his son.
Which must have worried Anathapindika, given Uga's views.
Understandably. He actually consulted the Buddha about it. But the Buddha, seeing Uga had the potential for awakening later on, gave his okay for the marriage.
So Culasubhaddha prepares to leave for Uganagra. And her father gives her some advice.
10 specific points of advice, yes. Really profound guidance for living well in her new home. And interestingly, it mirrors the advice another famous laywoman, Visakha, received from her father.
So these weren't just simple tips on etiquette.
Oh no, much deeper. A blueprint for wise and ethical conduct in a household. Anathapika even sent 8 householders with her, kind of like guarantors, publicly affirming her good character. It was a very honorable departure.
But arriving in Aṅguttara, things get tricky pretty quickly. A clash of beliefs.
Right away. Her father-in-law, Uga, followed these naked ascetics, the Asalaka. Cūḻasubhaddā, raised with Buddhist values of modesty and respect for the Triple Gem, refused to pay homage to them.
Which, predictably, caused friction.
Big time. Uga was angry, accused her of disrespect, but then her mother-in-law stepped in, a bit more diplomatically.
Okay, what did she do?
She asked Cūḻasubhaddā essentially, well, who are these ascetics you praise so much? Tell me about them.
Giving her an opening.
Exactly, and Cūḻasubhaddā just delivered this beautiful, eloquent description of her sammansas, the Buddhist monks she revered.
What did she highlight?
She talked about their deep, calm senses, calm mind, how serene they were in their movements, eyes downcast, moderate in speech, just peaceful.
And their conduct.
Pure bodily actions, faultless speech, completely purified minds. She used this image, stainless like conch shells, pure internally and externally, full of pure understanding, pure doctrine.
That's quite a description.
And crucially, she emphasized their detachment from worldly ups and downs. The 8 worldly conditions, gain and loss, fame and disgrace, praise and blame, pleasure and pain, none of it shook them.
They remained stable.
Absolutely steadfast.
So the mother-in-law must have been intrigued by this.
Definitely. She then issued a challenge. Okay, can you actually show us these ascetics of yours?
And Cūḻasubhaddā?
Without hesitation, yes, I can. And what she does next is just extraordinary. A pure act of faith.
This is where her faith really shines, connecting back to that Dhammapada verse, right? Even from afar.
Precisely. She arranges a large offering, an almsgiving. Then she goes to her palace roof, faces towards Jetavana Monastery, where the Buddha was staying. Remember, 200 yojanas away.
Over 1,000 miles.
An incredible distance. She bows respectfully, meditates deeply on the Buddha's qualities, offers incense, flowers, perfume, and then she takes 8 handfuls of jasmine flowers, throws them into the air, and makes this powerful aspiration. May the Blessed One know of my invitation through this sign.
Wow. And did it work?
It absolutely did. Miraculously, those flowers traveled all that way and formed a perfect canopy right above the Buddha's head while he was teaching in Jetavana, an unmistakable signal.
That's unbelievable, the power of her conviction.
It was so powerful, the story says, that Sako, the king of the gods, got involved. He instructed Visakhamadevaputta, the celestial architect, to create 500 flying, pinnacled mansions overnight. And the very next day, the Buddha and 500 arahants, fully enlightened monks, traveled in these celestial mansions all the way to Aṅguttara.
What an arrival. How did Uga react?
He and his family saw this magnificent sight, this undeniable spiritual power, and they were completely won over. They received the Buddha and the monks with immense joy.
So his perspective shifted.
Dramatically. Uga was so moved, he hosted a huge 7-day almsgiving for the Buddha and the entire monastic sangha.
And the impact on the city?
Profound. The Buddha gave teachings tailored for Uga and the people there, and the result was staggering. 84,000 beings attained some level of understanding of the Dharma, the path to liberation.
84,000.
An incredible number. And Cūḻasubhaddā requested one of the senior monks, Aṅguttara, to stay on in Aṅguttara to continue teaching and guiding them.
So the whole city was transformed by her faith and the Buddha's visit.
Completely. The text puts it simply. From then on, that city became full of faith, full of sada. It went from wrong views to vibrant spiritual life.
Okay, let's unpack that word, sada, faith. Cūḻasubhadda's story makes it clear this isn't just like passive belief, is it?
Not at all. Her faith, her sada, was dynamic, active. It was a conviction so strong it literally performed miracles, moving flowers across vast distances. It wasn't blind faith.
Right.
In Buddhism, sada is more like confident conviction. It often arises from some initial understanding or experience, and it fuels action. For Cūḻasubhaddā, it showed up as courage standing up to her father-in-law, as devotion, that incredible invitation. And generosity, the almsgiving, it was a force that changed everything around her.
A deep trust in the path, the teachings, the teacher.
Exactly. And that connects back to her description of the monks, the Samirs. Their inner peace, their purity in everything they did, body, speech, mind. Their detachment from worldly things like gain, loss, fame.
That detachment is key, right? It explains why, in this tradition, monks and nuns ideally don't handle money or get caught up in possessions.
Precisely. Their focus is meant to be entirely on spiritual practice, on liberation for themselves and others. Material accumulation is seen as a hindrance, an entanglement.
Which brings us to the role of the lay community. People like Uga, after his transformation, and the rest of the city, they become crucial.
Absolutely vital. The texts emphasize this over and over. Faithful lay people, whether they're incredibly wealthy like Anathapindika or Uga, or people with very little, they understand the value of supporting the Buddha's mission. They provide the necessary facilities.
And this is where that interesting phrase comes in about building monasteries with 4 requisites and all facilities to cure who admitted for medication.
This sounds like a metaphor.
It's a powerful one. Think of it as a spiritual hospital.
Okay.
You see, from the Buddhist perspective, ordinary life in samsara, this cyclic rebirth, means we're all basically unwell. Spiritually speaking, we're infected.
Infected by what?
The primary illness agents are avijja, ignorance, not seeing reality clearly, and tanha, craving, thirst, addiction. These are deep-seated problems. They intoxicate us, make us blind, lead us to act in ways that create suffering. Like how anger or greed can mess up families, relationships, cause huge problems in society, creating bad karma for the future.
Exactly. It's like being sick from unseen germs. We suffer and we cause suffering because of these internal afflictions.
So the monastery as a hospital, people admit themselves.
Yes, it implies someone recognizes, okay, I'm suffering, I have these spiritual illnesses, I need help. They seek out the cure, and the Buddha is the ultimate physician. He diagnosed the illness, found the cure, and teaches it to others.
And the cure, the medication, is the Dharma, the teachings and practices.
Precisely. The monastery becomes the dedicated space, the hospital where you receive this treatment, where you work on purifying the mind, developing wisdom, overcoming ignorance and craving. It's designed for intensive spiritual healing, aiming for a permanent cure liberation.
And the lay community's role in this hospital?
They build and maintain it. They provide the 4 requisites: food, robes, shelter, medicine, and all the other support. They create the supportive environment so the doctors and nurses, the monks and nuns, can focus entirely on administering the cure, the Dharma, through teaching and their own example.
So it's this really essential partnership.
A symbiotic relationship, absolutely. The monastic community preserves and teaches the Dharma, embodying the path. The lay community provides the material support that makes it all possible. One can't really flourish without the other. It's how the path is sustained and made available for everyone's benefit, everyone's potential healing.
Wow, that really paints a picture. We've covered a lot today, from that single potent Dhammapada verse about inner light shining forth,
through Cūḻasubhaddha's amazing story of faith in action, transforming a whole community.
and landing on this deep understanding of faith, or sada, and the vital interdependence between the monastic path and the lay support system, this whole spiritual hospital idea.
It really underscores how virtue has impact, regardless of distance, and how active, confident faith can be this incredibly powerful, positive force.
So maybe something for you, the listener, to reflect on. How do these ideas about faith, about virtue being visible, about community support for spiritual well-being, how do they resonate in your life today?
And thinking back to Dhammapada 304, if virtue shines like the Himalayas from afar, what kind of positive ripples might your own quiet efforts at inner cultivation, your own acts of faith and kindness be creating, maybe in ways you don't even see? What part of Cūḻasubhaddha's story really struck you?